said that you wanted to add a class, and the privateer life is dying and all that. But I do want to make note that the sport is growing at a pretty rapid spot. They give us attendance numbers every Tuesday, and the attendance numbers are freaking amazing right now. So when people ask, why are they putting the 250s after the 450s at some rounds and all this other stuff, I don't want people to lose sight of the fact that the sport is trying to grow, and they're trying to do things to help the sport grow, which in turn helps us as a team. And I give Feld, and you'll see in the summer what MXSports is doing, I give Feld a lot of credit for just trying stuff. And also to their credit is they tell us why they're doing it. They give us an explanation and give us a heads up on here's what's coming, here's what we're trying to do, here's why we're trying to do it. And then when we're all done, we'll tell you if it worked. So This is what people don't hear. This is what people don't see. And they think there's a big bad wolf out there. Well, the fact of the matter is we're in a upward trajectory on a growth of the sport, and it's really a good time to be a part of it. Now, how you get the rest of the kids into it, there's only so many spots. It's how they say the cheese has moved of how you get to a pro team, and you have to be well aware of where that cheese is today.
Great
to
book.
make
Who Moved My Cheese? There. You can read it in a day. It's a good book.
I like that. I also agree. Like, it's a really difficult job what Feld has to grow the sport and to protect the riders and everything like that. Like, if you take that's a huge company. They're in the third largest building in the state of Florida. They're just gigantic. And they're and what they have to do, like when you take somebody and you give them, like, they have to somehow keep the sport at its core, at its raw state of like athletes being aggressive. You have to somehow like manage that and grow the sport and earn money. And it's amazing what they're dealing with. And we're really lucky that like they don't make the most prudent choices at every opportunity they get, or the sport or the racing would be worse. Like, prudence is kind of like the opposition of the aggressiveness and everything you have to be to have a good racing. And they somehow like have to manage that line. And I think they do it impressively. So, and you see it, like it brings up a lot of like tough decisions that they have to make, but they have to, like, growing the sport is something that's got to be so important. And you see it the way they bring the futures into it, the way that they focus on the personalities of the riders. Those seem to be the two most important things for growing the sport and the future of the sport.
Well, look, they do the KTM challenge, which I think all the team managers kind of watch that just for the fun of it. And, it's real a treat to see that. They also give this guy on another podcast his own race to do later in the year. I mean, they're willing to do things to be flexible, and I think that's attributes them to really having an open mind on stuff.
Which is great. Let's not
lose sight that it is a business, right?
Yeah,
it is entertainment.
Steve Mathis with the Privateer Challenge is amazing. The privateers love that. It's great. But yeah, they need to have a facility to do that. And my conversations with Davey Coombs is their integration with the Super Motocross is Feld is helping them be bigger. And MXSports is helping Feld be smaller to try to take a little bit more care of the inner workings of everything. And I will say that the one thing harder than having a competitive advantage is keeping that competitive advantage. And what is happening with what happened with essentially the pandemic is it opened up, the economy boomed. Bikes were sold, automobiles, they had to shut down stuff, not so much because of the COVID, but because of the sheer fact that they couldn't have enough chips because things were just selling out left and right. And so usually in times of crisis, that's when people get the most motivated. If you look at the Great Depression, yes, between the 20s and 30s, everyone was losing money, but people were graduating from high school at a obscene rate. Factory workers weren't working more, but productivity was up like 70%. People had a reason to do something. In times of massive crisis, you see big innovation. World War II started on horseback, I believe in, 1939, and it ended and almost a nuclear holocaust, right? So it boomed, and that is what's happening with the sport. And so there's going to be some innovation that trickles down with potentially what do we do with the privateers and all the money that's coming into the sport. And it's a wonderful time to be involved. And I surely appreciate both of you guys coming on the podcast and sharing some valuable insight. You know, I've learned a lot from this, and you guys are both welcome to come back on at any time.
Well, you're asking people to subscribe. Do people actually watch this thing?
Some people do. Some people do. This show, usually on a high end for the podcast, I get about 16,000 views in total, and on average, it's about 5. So it's building. It's a compound effect. If I had to share anything about my philosophy, like on investing, is people want stuff that's instantaneous. And that's not really how things work in the sport and business and whatnot. Here is just a small little tad bit of, if you were to hold investments for 1 day to 30 years, what would be your return on stuff? Well, 1 day on average is about 52%. If you hold something for 30 years, you are guaranteed to have a positive return on stuff. And that's the thing in life, is it's just the compound effect. The longer you're in something, the more likelihood you will be successful in stuff. And I'm digressing here.
Yeah, no, I think you're talking about long form content. Like, do people have the patience for it? Maybe you were talking about something else, but I appreciate you. Like, I love long form content. I think it's growing. The trend for it is higher. That getting to know people is so important, and that you only get it through long form content. And it's the opposite of Instagram. It's freaking amazing. So
it's the problem.
He watches the Housewives of Beverly Hills or whatever. That's long format, right, Johnny?
Dude, honestly, my wife and I really enjoy the drama, because I've got enough shit going on in my life. It's nice to point fingers every so often and be like, thank effing God, I don't have to deal with this BS. Like
someone else's drama.
Yes, exactly. Because sometimes I'm in the circle of kind of creating some drama. So just for the sheer entertainment on everything. But that is for another conversation, and be a little bit more candid about stuff.